All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a framework that has, well, completely reinvented itself. And not just once. This is the story of Angular's great reinvention, a really incredible journey of radical change that has transformed it from the ground up. So how did a framework, once kind of famous for its complexity, turn into the modern, streamlined powerhouse it is today? Let's dig in. We're going to trace its journey through three key eras of reinvention to see exactly how it all went down.
So, where do we start? Well, with the first and honestly the most dramatic shift of all, the Great Rewrite back in 2016. This is where the team made the, let's say, controversial decision to just completely break from the past.
And look, this wasn't just some syntax update. It was a total paradigm shift. We went from the old ng controller in AngularJS to this modern class-based @component decorator. That meant rebuilding the entire framework from scratch. I mean, for a lot of people, this was a huge deal, a really bold and kind of shocking move at the time.
So this new foundation, it was basically built on three really powerful pillars. First, components became the absolute core, the reusable building blocks of everything. Then you've got TypeScript, which brought in strong type safety. And let's be honest, that was a total game changer for building and maintaining huge, enterprise-level applications. And finally, a much more refined dependency injection system made our code cleaner, more modular, and way easier to test.
Okay, so the new foundation was set, but that brought a whole new challenge to the table. The architecture was powerful, for sure, but developers wanted more. They wanted speed. So the next era, it was all about performance, making Angular apps faster and, just as important, a lot smaller.
The answer? It was something called Ivy. And yeah, you heard that right. It was another complete rewrite, but this time of the core rendering engine itself. Ivy was engineered from the ground up to be tree-shakeable, which is just a clever way of saying that the build process could throw out any part of Angular's code you weren't actually using. And that led to some dramatically smaller app sizes.
Now, a change this fundamental, you can't just flip a switch overnight, right? The team was really careful about it, rolling it out over several years. Ivy started as just an opt-in preview, then it became the default in version 9, and finally by version 13, the old engine was gone completely. The framework was officially Ivy only.
All right, so with a solid new architecture and that super fast Ivy engine, Angular was primed for its next big evolution, a major push towards a simpler, more modern developer experience and a truly reactive way of programming.
First thing on the chopping block? Boilerplate. I mean, anyone who used Angular back then knows the struggle of ng module. It was powerful, but man, it was a lot to deal with. Then, version 14 comes along and introduces standalone components, finally making ng modules optional. All of a sudden, you could bootstrap an entire app with just a single component. It was a massive simplification.
And then Signals arrived, and this was the real game changer. See, instead of the old system that kind of had to check your entire app for changes, Signals let Angular know exactly which piece of data has changed. That means it only updates the specific parts of the UI that depend on that data. This is what we call fine-grained reactivity, and it is incredibly efficient.
This whole new reactive way of thinking also brought us a much cleaner, more intuitive syntax. The old structural directives like ngIf and ngFor were replaced by this new built-in control flow. It looks and feels a lot more like plain JavaScript, which just makes your template so much easier to read and write.
And if you want a perfect example of this new focus on simplicity, just look at the @defer block. Lazy loading components, which used to be this complex thing that required careful routing configuration, became as simple as just wrapping a component. Angular handles all the code splitting and loading for you. It's so powerful, but it's just dead simple to use.
So you see all these pieces, right? Ivy, standalone components, Signals. They weren't just random improvements. They were all building towards one final, massive, revolutionary step.
And that big goal is what we call zoneless Angular. For years, Angular relied on this library called zone.js to kind of figure out when it should check for changes. By getting rid of that dependency and relying completely on the precision of Signals, Angular becomes even faster and more predictable. This is really the final piece of the puzzle in its reactive revolution. And this isn't some far-off future thing. We're seeing this vision become a reality right now in the latest versions. Zoneless mode is stabilizing, the entire router is being rewritten around Signals for way faster navigation, and core features like animations and server-side rendering are being stripped down to be more efficient than ever before. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it's pretty clear, isn't it? The Angular of today is a fundamentally different framework. It has systematically tackled its early criticisms, trading all that complexity for a modern, reactive, and really developer-friendly approach, all without sacrificing any of its power.
I mean, this whole journey just goes to show you Angular is not afraid to tear everything down just to build something better. It has reinvented itself from the ground up time and time again. Which, of course, leaves us with one really exciting question. After a revolution this big, what on earth comes next?